Good evening and welcome to We Repair. So I've got another repair for this evening. I have picked up a iPad mini that needs some work. It's very cracked around the top here. I don't know how well you can see that. And just generally needs a complete overhaul. It all works absolutely fine, as you can see. There's no issues with it other than that. So we're going to do a Glass Digitizer Replacement to fix this one. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to get this onto a heat pad and get it warming up, and that will soften the adhesive, so allowing us to lift it out. So a couple of ways to do this. I have one of these, which is a nice big heat machine. So plugs in, I put it down, put it on this face down, and it will heat the whole of the glass up and allow me to lift it out. The other thing you can do, sort of the poor man's approach, a hairdryer. So if you haven't got a heat pad, a hairdryer, and failing that, a heat gun. So I've got that's what I started out with, and that did the job very nicely, but I've upgraded to one of these because I've done so many iPads over the years. So I'll get this heated up and then I'll come back to you and show you how to get the glass out. So while waiting for that to heat up, I'll show you some of the bits and bobs that I use for my repairs. So safety goggles, it's a must. And then I've got one of these sets, lots of blades, and a blade for helping get the glass out. You will need something like that, otherwise you're going to get it off. Just a small Phillips screwdriver. I've got a couple of these metal spudgers to help lift the glass out. And I've got loads of these because these are the most helpful things in the world, and you use a lot of them, which are picks. So guitar picks for wedging around the screen, and I use a lot of those. I've got a couple of packs in here that I use very, very regularly. And then I've got some spare blades. And then before I close it back up, I've got one of these that I use. So I've got a brush on one end for cleaning the screens off, and on the other end, sort of a little microfibery towel-y thing, which I use for wiping the screens off and getting rid of any greasy marks that I might have accidentally left. So yeah, that's all the gear I use. So I'll just hang on now for the iPad to heat up, and then we can start lifting the glass out. It's been on there for about a minute now, and we're already on about 70 degrees. I normally get to about 80, just to the point where it's hot enough that you can just touch it, but not for a long period of time. So we're back. The iPad is now hot. I've also donned some gloves as well, so I don't leave any greasy marks on the screen. Just means I won't, if I accidentally touch it, it won't matter too much. These are sort of non-powder coated nitrile gloves. So just slowly working along. Appreciate the iPad is still on, which it probably shouldn't be. So there we go. Once we start it, click straight under to hold it. And then I switched from a blade to the blunt one. Basically, if you just get a little bit of prying under there, it will come. And then you can usually work straight down the side like that. And we just over to this side. We'll get another pick in here. That straight to the bottom. Now at this point we should just be able to lift it up carefully, and the glass should just lift. So there we go. Straight up like that, no mess, no fuss. So obviously we have still got this strip at the top. I will tackle that in a minute, unless it's going to come out nicely now, which it probably, oh no, might do. I tend to tackle that after I've done the LCD screen. There we go. So normally I lean this up against something. I put it then against my tripod at the minute, so the old glass is sort of not in the way. So at this point we need our screwdriver. So under these little pads in the corners, we've got 4 screws. there's one, there's two, there's three, and there's number 4. So we need to lift this glass up, this LCD out. Now that's a little bit of a fiddly one. So under this edge here and under this edge here, there is adhesive. Heating it up doesn't seem to help. And then in between the LCD and the bottom of the iPad, there's a metal frame. So what we want to do is very carefully lift just a little bit like that. So we are putting a bit of strain on the LCD, but if we do it carefully, we should be all right. And then I'm going to do exactly the same on this side. Like that. And just carefully wiggling over here, it should lift up. Like that. There you go. So you'll see it's still on, but it's just pressing up. So then I slowly just work my little metal pry tools down either side, like that, and eventually we'll have enough released that we can lift the iPad screen up vertically. So like that. Now again, at the bottom down here, you can just see it. There's 2 lots of adhesive. There's a couple of ways you can get at it. You can either very carefully peel it up with a pair of tweezers like this, which does take a minute or 2. Or some people prefer just to cut the adhesive carefully. So what you can do is you can lift the iPad screen up and you can pull it back like this. There you go. And then that will free the adhesive at the bottom and give you a little bit more room to maneuver. Unfortunately today it doesn't want to come off. There we are, there's one. But again, you need to be careful because you've got all your connectors down in this corner. So all your LCD cables and things are down there. Let's just see if we can get this corner up. There we go. Again, if we can keep this intact, then we can reuse it to take the screen back down with. So there we go. That is this now disconnected. See, it's totally free. We'll just leave that on there as well. So now we need to remove this mid frame. So on each side we've got 4 or 5 screws. They are all the same length in the iPad Mini 2. It's just in the first one there's about 20 screws under here, and there are different lengths, so you need to make sure you get the back in the right places. With this one they're not, and it doesn't really matter. Sorry, with this one it is, even though I think it doesn't matter at all. There we go, so that's all my screws out. And what we'll do, so you need to slide this all the way in this direction, so towards yourself, and then you can lift it up. If you don't do that, it won't lift out. So we just lift that one out. So that's our mid frame all out. And then we've got 3 screws, and under here you'll find the LCD, the digitizer, and the battery connectors. And these screws are different sizes. So then this metal plate will lift out. So as you can see, this one here is the battery, this big one here is the LCD screen, and then there's another connector underneath there, which is our digitizer. So with this plastic spudger, we'll do the battery first, like that, and then the LCD, like that. And we'll lift this LCD out of the way. Now, with this digitizer connection, I would not pry from this direction. I always do it from the side. When you pry it up, sometimes it pulls little pins from the connector out with it. So I always go from the side and then it won't pull them out. So I don't know why it does it, but these little pins come out straight up. So if you do it from the side, it will just absolutely destroy the connector. I have done that once before, and it has cost me because I've ended up having to go to another individual to get it repaired. So that's our digitizer out. We can't just chuck this away because there is a couple of bits we need on it. So just here, just down here, there is a magnet, and just at the top here, there's another magnet. And those are going to be needed on the new screen. So if you've got a mag case, so one of the ones from Apple that folds down onto this, those two little magnets hold it shut. So we need that. What we're going to do now, we're just going to give this a bit of a clean up. Easiest way to do it is with something sharp. So in this case, we're just going to do this. When you are doing this, you need to be really careful around the battery, because the last thing you want to do is puncture it. So when we do the side ones, we just need to be really careful. And it will come. You can heat it back up again if you find it too tricky to get it out. What I tend to do is just this. So much of the adhesive we can get off, the better, because it will make the new seal much better as well. So we're just going to work our way around the whole of the outside, just like this, and it will pull up all the adhesive as we go. So if you look now, it looks a lot cleaner already. So I always try and go over it a couple of times and just get it really, really clean, like this. Again, you need to be careful down the bottom here, because we've got Wi-Fi flexes and all sorts. So these two little pads here and here are your Wi-Fi connectors. You obviously got your dock here at the bottom, battery connection, and then your main board here. At the top here is your connection to your, for your power and audio buttons, front camera, and then your rear camera, front camera, and your connection to the headphones jack is at the top there. So just got to be really careful around this lot. Just go over it again. Still got adhesive coming up. Yeah, I'll just do this bottom piece because I didn't do this bit. Top here. I will get those bits of glass in a second. Okay, I'll just take those bits of glass out. I don't want to stay, they're stuck in. I don't want to come out, they are stuck. And that little bit of glass here. A couple more, another bit just up here. It's my pet hate when other repairers repair and they don't remove all the glass, and then you find little bits of glass stuck around the whole place. Just try to get this last bit of adhesive up. Lovely. That will do just nicely. This is another thing about Apple as well. I don't know if any of the repairers do it, but they always leave their little plastic. I don't know if you can see this or not. Where they built it, they don't always remove all the little blue plastic things that cover over the stickers. So that's about as good as that's going to get. So we'll just do a bit of prep on this now before we do anything else. I'm going to take one of my gloves off because my hand is very hot and I need to not have it on there to do this. So I use this tape It's completely clear, but it's very, very sticky, and I use it for holding the iPad screens in place. And also it heats up and forms an extremely good bond. I've used it for years. You wouldn't even know it's there. So what I do is I run that along the bottom. Like that. And then I will also put a strip along the top. And then the screens I also use come with adhesive on them down the edges, because this is obviously too thick for putting on the edge. Just run my finger over that, make sure you get a good seal. And to the top. Same thing, straight across. One snip. So there we go, that's all ready to go now. So what I will do is I will grab a screen, and then I'll come back to you, and we'll get that prepped and we'll get it installed. Right, so let's put this out of the way. So this is our new screen. I buy these from a company called Replacement because I know what I'm getting, and they are good quality screens. They always come with anti-static. What you might find with some of the cheaper ones is this cable here, which connects the home button, is uncovered, and you'll get something called ghost button presses. So when you go and touch the screen, it will start pressing buttons on its own because this cable is in contact with the metal frame. So what I'm going to do, first of all, I'm going to take this off of here carefully, like that. Put that onto the new one, and then the one down the bottom. I'm going to take this along with the little bit of adhesive, and I'm going to pop this down here. So what I like to also do is to fold this plastic tab up, which has got the screen protector on it, just so that when I come to pull it off, it's easier. So the next thing we do, we'll peel the plastic stickers off down the side, if you can just see that. Do that one there, that one there, top and bottom. And I'm all organised to do the screen install. With the cable here, I tend to fold it like that and then like that. It's a bit of an S, because when you do actually go and attach it to the screen, it will sit better. So now we will come back to our iPad, just grab that again. And then I'm going to just peel these off, just like this, and this, and the top one up here. So we're just left with the sticky tape. Okay, and then we start building now. So again, first thing that goes in, move this out of the way. First thing that goes in is our digitizer. So no battery power connected, so we're not going to short anything. That is a common mistake where people don't disconnect the battery and then they short something out, and that's it. It's the board needing repair then. So that's now down. So just move the sticker out of the way when we push this down. Move that back. So that's all connected, it just pushes into place. I'll just sit this out of the way again. So with our LCD screen, you can see lots of little bits on there, just. So I'm just going to give that one quick clean, and then I'll give it another clean before I install it. So get rid of the worst of it. Like that. So as it stands, I'll just turn this over and we will push that down. There we go, you'll hear it click, so you know it's in place, and we'll just lean that up against there. So, next thing we need to do is to reconnect the power. That's done, and then we're going to cover that all over. So again, I kept these screws in the same order as they came out, so I know exactly where they go back. But these ones are different lengths. I've got two little ones and a big one, but the little ones are slightly different lengths as well. So I would say make sure you do get them back in the right place, because there's something called long screw damage, where you essentially screw through the bottom of the bracket into the motherboard. So you just want to be really careful of that. It used to be very common on the iPhones. So again, same way we took it out, put it as close as you can towards you, drop it down, and then slide it back just a little bit. So what I tend to do is I'll put these right in the middle here so I can see them, and then I'll just work straight down both sides. It doesn't take 2 seconds to do it. They're all the same length, so you can put them in any of the holes. One thing I will say is I don't think it's on this model actually, I think it's the first generation Mini, which is virtually the same. One of the sides is magnetic, so you're trying to screw the screws in and they're magnetising to the side, which makes it a little bit more fiddly. And you're done, 2 more. Last one. So now we'll just drop this back over like this. So before we do that, I'll just grab these 2 stickers back up here, and that one back up above, and then we'll just push this down. I'm doing it with my right hands because I've got my glove on, and that way I won't get any smudgy fingerprints on anything, and then we'll just stick the sticker back down as best we can. Like that. And now we will screw this all into place. Put these in. And then top 2. Oops. Oops, if I get them around the right way, really. So, don't do what I just did, kids. One of these is in the wrong place now. Come on, in you go. So those 2 ones with the foamy inserts sit by the battery, sit by the magnets. So that's why they're there. So last thing we need to do, give this a good clean now. I want it as free from dust and dirt as we can. Some people have a humidifier in the room because it stops dust and particulates from falling. I find as long as you're just very thorough with the cleaning process, that's usually fine. So that's all clean. So now because we've got this tab pulled up, we'll just pull it off. And pull it towards you, not over the iPad, because you'll end up getting dirt back in it, which you just cleaned. So that's still a speck there. So we'll just top first. So just push it in like that. And then what I tend to do, because we did this fold earlier, I'll get my spudger and I'll just, you should just be able to see that cable, I'll just push it a little bit so it folds right, and then I'll tuck it down. And I have now pressed the on button because I had the iPad lent on the top. So that screen is already pretty well in there. We've still got a plastic protector on top of this, so don't think there's any gunk under there. So we just run our fingers around the edge, and then I've got a couple more steps that I do. So while this is firing up, I'll just go and grab something to show you. So I have one of these. I'll just move this out of the way. So this is a press. So made by a company called iCracked. I used to do quite a lot of repair work for them. So what you do, take this top bit off, take your iPad face down into the press, and then on this side we've got a small cutout that sits on top. You screw your screws up and it pushes the glass on. So, and you're supposed to leave it like that for 12 hours, which is what I tend to do. I do it in the evenings, I leave it overnight. But before we do that, we need to heat this back up so we get a really, really good bond and the glass won't come back out. So we'll just give this a very quick test. Just do another home button test, and again. That's perfect, that's working flawlessly. So I'm just going to heat this one back up again now. I'll pop it into the press and I'll tighten it up so you can just see that last bit. Right, so coming back now, so this one is now hot to the touch. So we'll just pop that in there. Do this up. So you need to do it fairly evenly. So I tend to get all my screws in around the edge, and then I slowly tighten them. I am one short, but this is dual-sided because you can have two iPads in this at once. Now I've got all the various fronts on them, so I can do the 4s, the 3s, the 2s, the Airs. The 2018 Airs don't actually fit in these, so you have to sort of put something in there with them to hold it. So there we go. I'll just get this nice and tight now. So that's all tightened up. I'll do that. There we are, that's completely tight on there. That's all sealed in. So now I will leave it for 12 hours, and tomorrow morning I'll undo this and test again just to make sure everything's done, and that's it. So I'll come back to you tomorrow morning and you can see, and we'll undo it and you'll be able to see it just working. And then, yeah, there's not a lot more to say. Right, so it's the next morning, taking the iPad out of the press, and it's all working absolutely lovely. No issues at all. What you sometimes get if you push down on the edges, you'll get ghost presses if it's not sealed in properly or if something's touching something. The screen works absolutely fine. So yeah, all done. I've just got to take this off, but I'll leave that for the owner because it's nice for them to have a nice fresh iPad. And yeah, we're done. So if you like the video, please subscribe to the channel, leave us a comment, ask any questions, and most importantly, press the bell icon so you get notified of all our new content coming up. Okay, thanks for watching.